The Sillabawa dynasty can effectively be said to have come into force when the late Muhammad Dikko became the emir of Katsina in 1907. Late Major General Hassan Usman Katsina, Deputy Chief of Staff Supreme Headquarters and Federal Commissioner for Establishments and Service Matters, was a descendant of that distinguished family. He was born on 31st March 1933 in Katsina. By religion, he was a Muslim, and he was a son of His Royal Highness Alhaji Sa Usman Nagogo, the Emir of Katsina. He started his education at the age of 7 in 1940 when he entered Kankia Elementary School. On completing his elementary education, he was admitted as a student to Katsina Middle School in 1944. After 4 years, he entered the Institute of Administration in Abu Zaria. After spending a year, he gained admission to the Nigerian College of Arts, Science and Technology, the forerunner of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. In February 1956, Hassan joined the army as an officer cadet. Shortly after, he was sent to the Regular Officers Special Training School at Teshi, Ghana, a military institution which used to train all officers of the British colonies in West Africa as they were then under a unified command. After almost a year's training and stay in Ghana, he went to Britain for further military training. He was at Monst Officer Cadet School, Aldershot, the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst in Camberley, Surrey for 2 years, the Small Arms School in Kent for 3 months in 1959, and the School of Infantry, Warminster, in the same year. On his return to Nigeria in July 1959, he became platoon commander of the 2nd Battalion of the Queen's Honorary Nigerian Regiment in Kawo, Kaduna. In 1960, he was demonstration platoon commander at Nigerian Military Training College, then newly established in Kaduna. In 1961, he served under the United Nations in the Congo as General Staff Officer Grade 3 in the 3rd Brigade Headquarters in charge of intelligence. In 1962, he received further training at School of Infantry Maneuvers in the United States, following which he was appointed company commander in the 5th Battalion. Between January and December 1964, the then Major Hassan attended Staff College course at Camberley in Britain. He returned in December 1964, and in January the following year he was appointed Reconnaissance Squadron Commander and took part in Operations Adam 3, in which the Army participated in connection with Steve riots for 6 months. In May 1965, he became Regimental Commander of the 2 reconnaissance squadrons based in Kaduna and Abeokuta. It was under that situation that his regiment took part in keeping the peace during 1965 Ibadan election riot, in which the Army named Operation Corkscrew. As a result of the 1966 military takeover, then a Major, Hassan was appointed military governor of Northern Region. In March that year, he was promoted to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. When states were created in May 1967, he became the chairman of the Interim Administrative Council, a civil post from which he presided over the creation of 6 states of the former Northern Region, a Herculean task indeed. By March 31st, 1968, he completed the assignment of the state's creation. On April 18th, the same year, he was appointed Chief of Staff, Nigerian Army. A month later, he was promoted to the rank of Brigadier. On 1st October 1971, he was promoted to the rank of Major General. In February 1972, he went for further studies at Royal College of Defense Studies for a year. In May 1973, he was appointed the Deputy Chief of Staff, Supreme Headquarters, and Commissioner of Establishments. General Hassan was a member of both the Supreme Military Council and the Federal Executive Council.
Duk mutumin da yake arewa da mai sarauta da attajiri da dan boko da mai sana'a da mace da miji da yaro da babba suna da bashin ciroman Katsina General Hassan. Dalili kuwa a 1966 da aka koro mu muka yi nan ya zama shine gwamnan soja arewa baki daya. Tsuliya ta ɗori ruwa a lokacin, Allah ya ba mu wuce a lafiya. Ni dai a lokacin ko dai mutum na gani ma sun jan fasa ofis da riga sai in ce soja ne sai in shiga gida in ba shiga ban daki. To bisa gaskiya ina kuma son faɗi wannan da babban murya, ba dan Hassan ba a lokacin da Allah kaɗai san inda muke, yo watakila da ina Maraɗi ko na tafi Zindir. Wannan ɗan taliki ya kubutar da mutuncinmu, ya kubutar da mutuncin arewa a wannan lokacin. Duk wanda yake haka, wanda yake nan ƙasar ya sani abubuwa da yawa waɗanda suka taso ya kare. Kai yau zan faɗa muku wani abu da muka yi, muka kubutar da mutuncin arewa da saninsa, da yake yanzu abu ya wuce ba za su kama ka ba, da saninsa muka yi. Kun tuna lokacin da muka ce lalle muna son mutuncin arewa ya tabbata, muka hada mutane a nan kasar, muka shiga muka fita, ba irin lungun da ba mu fita ba. Su Aminu suka ba mu kuɗi, muka dinga zuwa mu je nan mu jin, wallahi tallahi yana gwamnan da saninsa aka yi wannan abu, kuma ba dan shi ba da ba za mu yi ba. Saboda haka wannan mutum ni a wurina tun da muka rasa Sardauna ba mu samu Sardauna ba sai Hassan.
General Hassan had brought a great administrative knowledge to Katsina local authority by accepting to serve as a title holder, a post for which his constant advice was sought. The institution of air marshal is the cradle of culture. Instead of seeing it as a remnant of bygone epoch and the emir as a prodigy of medieval majesty, the various tests the system had withstood have made it a rallying force at the most time of trouble. For we can vividly remember when the philosophy of Awari was getting hold of the people of northern region, it fell upon General Hassan as the military governor of the north to jump from here and there to rally emirs and chiefs in an attempt to keep the country free and its citizens everywhere to move unmolested. In fact, he was visiting when Ali Akilu summoned him back. That was one of the times he displayed the rarest courage by endangering his own life to go direct into the street in spite of the fire that was raging in order to save lives of some Nigerians who were at the mercy of an angry mob. He took several decisions which baffled even his closest friends and advisors. For him, the survival of the nation was his paramount objective.
I'm very perturbed of recent newspaper publications to hear there's Jasawa, there's this. This never happened. I never know that. When I read it, I was really perturbed. Who are Jasawa? Who are Birams? We're all Nigerians. We all come to live together. Nigeria is a big country that is unequal to every country that you can think of in this world. Take what is happening in Yugoslavia. They speak the same languages, yet they cannot live together. How about Nigeria? Is this not a prayer to every one of us Nigerians that we are living together with 250 languages? How many different cultures have we? Yet we are one. Is it not proud? Aren't we proud of that? So it is you, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm speaking here tonight, that will spread the idea of living together in this country. And we are quoting an example of what just government has done, Plateau State government has done. During the recent crisis of Bauchi and Katsina, I drove quietly without anybody knowing. Came and met the chief of Kagoro, came and met the emir of Jama, Kwai, Marwa, and arrived here in Jos about 4 in the afternoon, after I've already rang the governor himself alone. The governor came and saw me. We stayed for 2 hours. And I went privately to Bauchi the next morning without the governor telling everybody. But later, when I met Reverend Janaka, Bishop Gadaka, I was so pleased to meet that man. Why, here in Plateau State, he has established a committee Muslims, Christians, pagans, market women. Oh yes, which is very good. Wherever that you have here crisis, you all meet and resolve the issues. How can I hear on the newspaper that now Jasawa and Barmawa and what is it? It's uncalled for. Isn't it? Don't you agree with me?
It was under his rule that local authority police were merged with the Nigeria police. It was he who, as a military governor of northern region, abolished alkali courts, transferred local authority prisons to the federal government, disqualified local authority officials from participating in future politics of this country, unless those interested resigned from their offices. These singular decisions disabused the view of those who thought monarchy was a conservative system and against change, and princes would be the last to accept the change of time. General Hassan was a well-known figure, and no matter the offices he held, he had a large circle of friends and admirers throughout the country and abroad. These sterling qualities of the first Chiroma are no doubt due to his background and upbringing. He was very amiable. General Hassan is no doubt destined to play a vital role in the service of his people and the nation from the very period he enrolled as a soldier cadet. For at that time, nobody from a good family took military as a noble career. It was considered a place for people who have either disappeared from their community for having committed some shameful offense, or men whose background was dubious. But the Emir, Alhaji Usman Nagogo, did not change his mind since the young prince had decided on what he wanted to do. The system he adopted encouraged the North to send both boys and girls to school to acquire Western education. So to this extent, he contributed to the progress, growth, and development of North and Nigeria in general. Not surprisingly, while in retirement, Hassan turned into a solitary institution. In a manner strikingly similar to the late Sheikh Abubakar Gumi, many people turned his modest Kaduna residence into an advice bureau for redress of personal, professional, religious, or communal grievances and disputes. He harbored no ill feelings against anyone, and thus he was able to build bridges vertically and horizontally.
One was my former prefect, Baljan Gamba Santa. He was my prefect. He never liked me in the college because no, I told him so many times. Even when I was governor of Northern Nigeria, when I came to Jos, I met him. I said, do you know that you don't like me because I smoke? And he said, yes, I still don't like you because you smoke, Hassan. And I congratulated him for telling me that you should stop smoking, which was very good. Which was good. He never changed his mind. I never changed my mind too.
He never gossiped about anyone, and those who did so in his presence had to bear public embarrassment when Hassan would repeat, as he often did, what he had been told in the presence of the subject of the gossip. In this way, he earned the reverence of many, and sometimes through coercion and cajoling, caused many people venture successfully to careers, vocations, and occupations which they were initially reluctant to go into. Not only during peacetime, in moments of crisis, he was also a rallying point. No one needs convincing that during the so-called religious communal clashes of 1987 and 1992 in Kafanchan and Dongon Katav, with their disastrous spillover into Kaduna, and again in the aftermath of the second misadventure by a Nigerian army major in April 1990, when the nation was once more brought to a climacteria, Hassan's moderate and decisive interventions were very assuring indeed. The full impact of this dialogue with his community and religious leaders in finding solutions in moments of need is yet to be fully appreciated. Unlike many of Nigeria's latter-day generals, Hassan found relevance not by any means and at all costs, but by good deeds. He was never a collector of honors and luxury, but yet in whatever he involved himself, he was accorded loud acclaim. National Oil and Chemical Marketing Company made him its director and chairman, as did the Nigerian Polo Association. The Barrier Old Boys Association, BOBA, had no hesitation in appointing him its president. The infrastructural development of his alma mater equipped laboratories and availability of such modern facilities as computers were Hassan's maiden touch to the then rapidly dilapidating famous school.
Time changes, environment changes. We can't blame the time, only God that changed the time. But all the same, we have to follow what we have learned, the discipline we have learned through our teachers and our elders. Only of recent, that this famous village of ours that was shut down for 9 months. When I heard about it, I tried to approach the government of the day of Kaduna State to find solutions. Why was this college shut for 9 months? I've got so many various comments. Finally, I drove myself from Kaduna to Zaria to inspect the college on my own interest. And I cried on that day when I saw the college. Classrooms were ventilators, dormitories were no longer a living condition for students. The way of enlistment, when I checked with the principal, was not the way, the system that it used to be. Then I remember our neighboring college that was open in order to promote education in the north, the Kefi College. And I went to Kefi College on my own again. And I saw the difference of the Kefi College and that of Barrier College. And then I started talking to all the officials that I could get hold of to see the way we can do and revive this college.
General Hassan was renowned for his ability and demeanor to listen to and accept good advice. Indeed, it was that disposition which made him completely acceptable and respectable by the strong and dependable civil service with which he was endowed to work. He was always ready to take corrections for his mistakes and was always willing to offer apology where he went wrong, just like he was always ready to correct others when they went wrong. General Hassan was a keen sportsman. His hobbies include polo, squash, horse riding, games, shooting and swimming. He was a one-time president of the Lagos Polo Club and later chairman Nigeria Polo Association. He was nicknamed the Polo Prince, being a game he loved most and having inherited it from his polo-playing father, Alhaji Usman Nagogo, the Emir of Katsina and the president of Nigeria Polo Association. The Emir retired with handicap +7, highest in West Africa. General Hassan's handicap was +4, one of the highest in Nigeria.
Polo is a team game. You have to practice together, play together, and we usually, because of to improve the standard, we always try to see a low handicap player playing with a high handicap player so that he improves his standard. Otherwise, if you just get the best players to play against themselves, there's no improvement of the game. So we always have a low goal match where you bring a high handicap player to play with low handicap player so that he encourages and he coaches the members of his team with a low goal. And this is why we have a goal limit for every cup we play, in most of the tournaments, so that we can encourage the low goal player to play with a high handicap player so that he improves.
In the course of his illness, the last couple of years, General Hassan, alternating from the Royal Lancaster Hotel, his favorite hotel in London, to the Wellington Hospital and to Alhaji Aminu Antata's guest house in Holland Park. His London doctors had declared him a hopeless medical case. As a result of General Hassan's wish and that prescription, both his wife and brother, Alhaji Yusuf Usman, the Nigerian ambassador in Morocco, had concluded that General Hassan must be flown back home to Nigeria so that he could die at home. In view of all these developments, an air ambulance was said to be ready that afternoon to convey him back to Nigeria. Unfortunately, by Saturday, 22nd July 1995, the cold hands of death had started showing their signs. His body started to shrink, and he got gradually into a coma. A man of transparent honesty, a dedicated family man, an internationally respected sportsman, an able manager of men and resources with a legendary track record of a most remarkable philanthropist and generous disposition that is without equal among his peers. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. General Hassan Usman Katsina, Chiroman Katsina, died on 24th July 1995 at his Rock Road residence, Kaduna, at the age of 62. The deceased was buried about 1:45 p.m. in his residence with full military honors and according to Islamic rites. He left two wives, namely Hajia Hadiza Hassan, Auntie Katsina, and Hajia Hadiza Hassan, Auntie Kano, with 10 children: Mustafa, Jummai, Dr. Amina, Babangida, Yusuf, Aisha, Hawa, Haruna, Muhammad Dikko, and Hafsat. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Today, he is gone, but his memories linger on and will never be forgotten. A great man is dead, and his loss will be felt in every part of this great land. He stood for peace and justice for all. He was kind and compassionate. He loved life and service to humanity. He was born great, but lived a very simple, humble, friendly, charitable, and honest life. In multifaceted ways, he displayed good leadership, chivalry, and kindness to both his subordinates and peers. As Chief of Staff, General Hassan Katsina's utterance, frequent visits to the war front, and concern for adequate logistic support boosted immeasurably the morale of the federal troops during our civil war, the outcome of which kept Nigeria united today. He gave the best in him in those critical days. General Hassan Katsina was a housing power of wartime in Nigeria. He was a great leader, and having under him field commanders who were more like rebels, and it was only him who was able to get them together and prosecute the war effectively. He was a very sincere officer whose yes is yes and no is no. General Hassan believed in one Nigeria and displayed it during the Civil War and thereafter until his death. The country has no doubt lost a great and respected leader at a time when his services are in great demand. May his soul rest in perfect peace.
As the Chief of Staff at a time when this nation was in the greatest difficulty, he salvaged the nation and put the nation together again. In his retirement, he remained the only solid link that held the North together. The only solid link, the only link we can resort to in our last, as a last resort. And for him to die at this most crucial period, this most trying period in Nigeria, at a period again when the North itself that he has held together so delicately is in disarray, is in trouble. The blow is only Allah knows the best.
Only to Nigeria, but to the whole Muslim world. Is a very prominent person, a humane person who spent his life in the service of his people and the community, and it is a very irreparable loss. I wish him God's mercy, and I hope that people will emulate his good behavior, his selfless service to the nation, to the public.
So rest in peace. May Allah Almighty have mercy on him, and may we follow the examples he left behind, and may we have peace in Nigeria. He was a great man. He did a lot of work for the entire country. He kept Nigeria together as an individual and his collective group. We will not forget him. He was great. Nigeria has lost a gem. May his soul rest in peace.
Well, the loss is, his loss is very calamitous. Not only to the northern part of the country, but to the whole of Nigeria. Because he was one of the few remaining elder statesmen, the one who inherited, who governed the former northern region after the exit from 1966. Very well, very successful. The chief of army, he has virtually done everything that anybody can do. In all the assignments, he has acquitted himself very presently. He was never corrupt, never enriched himself. He's always ready to help you in every way, and quite ready to defend his country in any capacity. So the loss
is a loss to the whole of this country, and particularly the North. We have lost a sincere and dedicated leader in General Hassan. The North needs leadership of honest and dedicated persons who have courage to lead. And this is the loss that we have so far made.
I said he lived a very loyal officer. He loves his people. His life is of dedication, and he has been in the limelight of the Nigerian politics for a generation, 66 now.
The first military governor of the old northern Nigeria, although he ruled the north briefly before he was transferred to Lagos to be chief of army staff when new states were created and the north was no longer a monolithic group as it was. And everywhere he served, he did his best to contribute his quota to the development of this country. And we can only pray for his soul to rest in perfect peace, and also to pray that Allah will give his family and his friends and relations and his children the fortitude to bear the rust.
Well, Nigeria has lost a great leader, a great person from whom we should take a lesson and example. He was the governor of the whole 16 northern states when it was northern Nigeria. And he had made an immense contribution to the development of Nigeria as a whole. After governorship of the North, he went to Lagos and was a member of the Supreme Military Council. And he played an important role in bringing up Nigeria as in its corporate existence during the Civil War. He contributed a lot in the prosecution of the law, of the war to keep Nigeria one. So he would always be remembered for that.
General Hassan Katsina, whom I knew when I was still a young boy, starting from our school days in Bariwa, or long before that. Because when I came to Bariwa, he was in Form 6, I was in Form 1. But before then, we used to meet whenever they came on holiday in Katsina. And after that, I have been associated with him here in Kaduna, and when he was the chief of staff army in Lagos, and later deputy chief of staff supreme headquarters in Lagos, and later during his retirement. Chiroma has been a very likable character, very respectable, but not reproachable. He respects people, and he expects people to respect him also. He's very kind, very generous, and very helpful. He has been a very wonderful person. His main ambition was the unity of this nation, and he worked very, very hard for the unity of Nigeria.
People always gather together in his house, and any one of them, maybe they need one assistance or another. And people will always remember him, more especially here in Katsina, because there isn't any meeting point now. But before, the high class, the middle class, the low class, we all meet in General Hassan's house. But unfortunately now, we've lost him. And so there isn't any meeting point between the high class and the low class. You see what I mean? Because everybody converges in his house. We eat together, they drink together, everything. You can see about 50 people eating together with General Hassan. So we have lost that.
Country, because it's not only the family, the death of General Hassan, among all Nigeria, including outside Nigeria. So I want our elder people to act as Hassan Katsina act.
Those who know his role in preserving the unity of this country and in containing the excesses of various military dictatorships know that we have suffered a great loss. I don't think he'd be easy to replace him.
The general, since he was a company commander in the recce, up to the time of his retirement, we know him as one strict in discipline, very uncompromising in discipline, yet very simple. Simple to a fault. So simple that people never believed he's the same General Hassan. If he came to his house, well, he did it to me. As soon as I was coming, he shouted my name. So when things happen in this country, and Hassan was consulted, he made positive contribution. Contribution that were never critical. Contribution that cooled nerves at a time that any time the country was under threat. During this same period, even in his sick bed, I came to talk to him. And I told him that things were not going well. That was the first time he returned from UK. And I thought that he should do something. I'm talking honestly to you because it's in this house. And he said to me, he usually called me Governor. Governor, let's watch. Let these people learn from their own mistakes. But I want you to be on record that Hassan's leadership, he didn't learn leadership. I think he was born a leader. And that is why people continue to come onto his death, because he was incorruptible.
We were a great close. General wasn't a friend. Usman was a brother. I've known him for over 40 years. And he was one of the great leaders Nigeria has ever had. Very unassuming. Great, it helped anybody, anytime. You could see yesterday around this house, people of every class, both low and high. And I think that the greatest tribute that people could do to him. Nigeria has lost a great son and a great leader.
A great loss, not only to the northern part of the country, but to the entire country. A great leader has passed away. A man of integrity, transparent honesty. A man who was both a patrician and a plebeian. A patrician as a prince and a plebeian because he was a man of the common people. Helpful to all people at all times. Hassan was the greatest leader that we have had in the northern part of this country since the death of the late Premier Sir Ahmad Bello. We cannot replace this loss. May God give him eternal peace.
Well, the message I have for Nigerians is that we should all mourn the death of General Hassan Usman Katsina. I think Nigeria has missed the only person that is principled, fearless, puts his self-interest behind him, and look at everybody in the eyes and tell him the truth. He has no quest for material gains. His interest in life is the welfare of Nigerians and Nigeria as a whole.
As you all know, the late General Hassan Usman Katsina was not only a statesman, but he was a fine soldier. He was a model to those of us who joined the military at the time we did. In fact, I would say that I joined because he had become an officer of an Nigerian army. Today we have lost a rallying point in Nigeria. General Hassan is not only a Hausa Fulani man, but he was a true Nigerian in every aspect of it. And this is a great loss to the country. And one can only pray that God will receive his soul and that his legacies would be a building block for us towards a strong, united nation.
The late head of state, General Sani Abacha, the former president, General Ibrahim Babangida, the then Chief Justice of the Federation, Justice Muhammad Bello, former head of state, Major General Muhammad Buhari, service chiefs, the Inspector General of Police, Alhaji Ibrahim Kumasi, some members of the federal cabinet, traditional rulers and businessmen were among thousands of people who attended the burial ceremony of late General Hassan. The head of state, General Abdussalam Abubakar, was among the mammoth crowd that thronged the late General Hassan's Rock Road residence to commiserate with the family and condole them and the nation over this great loss. Late General Hassan's solemn funeral marked a departure of one of Nigeria's rapidly disappearing class of the respected voices. In fact, the presence of the mammoth crowd that gathered at his funeral served to poignantly demonstrate his popularity.
Dukkan waɗanda suka halarta shugaban ƙasa na da na yanzu da dukkan jama'ar musulmi waɗanda suka halarta Allah ya mai da kowa gidansa lafiya. Allah ya karɓa mana. Amin. آمين. اللهم أصلح لنا ديننا الذي هو عصمة أمرنا. آمين. وأصلح لنا دنيانا التي فيها معاشنا. آمين. وأصلح لنا آخرتنا التي إليها معادنا. آمين. واجعل الحياة زيادة لنا في كل خير. آمين. وللموت راحة لنا من كل شر. آمين. عما يصفون. آمين. وسلام على المرسلين. آمين. آمين.
What the society must do in this regard is to build up on the fine qualities of its heroes, not by words, but by deeds. Nigeria needs this attitude very dearly. Honest service to the nation should replace the present obscene ovation of the materialism as the benchmark for heroism and relevance. Hassan was a hero, like all our national heroes before him, not because of material showmanship. Indeed, his dress, food, house, and automobile belie his status. His life has been exemplary, a life which we all must try to emulate. May his soul rest in peace, and may Allah forgive him and grant him a place in paradise. Amen.